Monica Italamela Odoro from Ibadan Federal Constituency. Monica, I have two petitions from my constituents. One is from TSP Ame on Makoti James. He was dismissed from the service allegedly, but he had a court ruling in 2015 and was discharged by any State High Court of Justice. Here no project. Since then, the Police Affairs Commission is yet to comply with the court ruling. So he is pleading on to the House to come to his aid for the Police Affairs Commission to comply with the court ruling, that all his privileges and rights be restored. The second petition is from Mrs. J.A. Amego on a wrongful and premature retirement from NMPC. She alleged that she was dismissed or retired in 2001. And in 2004, she petitioned this very house, and after due processes and hearing, public hearing, the house resolved that she be restored back to office. But up till now, in 2004, nothing has been done to her restoration to office. She is equally pleading onto the house that would prevail on the corporation NMPC for her to be reinstated. Honorable Speaker, can you permit that I submit this petition?
Please proceed and lay the petition. Any more petitions? Petitions referred to the Committee on Public Petitions. Honorable Ija, I've looked at your point of order, but it's like there may be no need because it will offend the provisions of our rules, in the sense that we're asking for recession, and the rules is explicit that you have to come by way of a substantive motion of notice. So I've directed the Chairman, Rules and Business, to put it on notice in line with the provisions of our relevant rules. So I think we stayed there so that one is not constrained to rule you out of order. So the proper order is that it will be a substantive motion on notice. So it will be published in next week's notice, so the members will be fixed with notice. And if you still want to raise the matter, then you can take it as early as next week, depending on the schedule of the House Committee on Rules and Business. First point of order will come from Honorable Yakubu Umar Balde.
My name is Yakubu Umar. I represent Chikun Federal Constituency. I am from Katsina State. Mr. Speaker, I come under the responsibility of the House to present a matter which to me I feel is very urgent and of national importance. And the issue has to do with the need to sanitize our judicial system. We are serious in the fight against corruption in this country. Mr. Speaker, I hereby move that the House suspend the relevant rules, consider this matter as important, and secondly, enable me to take it as being very urgent. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Deputy Minority Whip.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is representing Kapushanga, Federal Constituency. I raise the second motion, a very important motion raised by my minority. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Seconded to the second limb of the motion, Honorable Kiruka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Keep downloading your choice, my name. I present over to the federal. I am from Adam. I write the constitution as moved by minority.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Whip, minority whip, you can now move your motion.
We need to ensure sanity in the administration of justice system in the fight against corruption in Nigeria by the Attorney General of the Federation. The House recognizes the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice and the Economic and Financial Crime Commission, EFCC, and the Code of Conduct Tribunal, CCT, are indispensable in the fight against corruption in Nigeria today. The House also notes with concern that the recent turn of events whereby the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal, Mr. Danladi Umar, has been charged with 2 count charges of corruption before FCT High Court by the EFCC, because that the same EFCC and Attorney General had previously cleared the State Justice Danladi Umar of the same allegation that formed the basis of the 2 counts. Concerned that the same EFCC and Attorney General of the Federation is prosecuting cases before the same CCT and Danladi Umar sits as the chairman. Further concern of the fact that EFCC had previously issued a statement absolving Justice Umar of any wrongdoing and is now being charged and asked to try the Senate President with the tendency to give an impression that the game is being arranged to meet certain predetermined results, portraying our legal system as capable of being manipulated and should be of concern to everyone. Worried that any possible conviction or finding which the CCT may make from the same Danladi Umar being charged may be rendered null and void by the Court of Appeal and thereby frustrating the cause of justice. Disturbed that the Attorney General of the Federation is instrumental to this unwholesome saga playing out in the administration of our justice system. The House hereby resolve condemn the manipulation of our legal system by the Attorney General of the Federation and acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crime Commission. 2, mandate the House Committee on Judiciary to interact with the Attorney General of the Federation to ensure that sanity is brought back in this case at hand. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
Second, Honorable Sadiq.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Sadiq Ibrahim. I represent Full Forest of Federal Constituency from Adamawa State. I second the motion as moved by Deputy Chief. Thank you.
can now lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you and my colleagues for allowing me to bring this issue at hand to the floor of the House. Mr. Speaker, of recent, our President, in the person of President Muhammad Buhari, was saddled with the responsibility to steer the fight against corruption in Africa, which we all applauded, and it shows the commitment of Mr. President in the fight against corruption. But as the case may be, Mr. Speaker, the issue at hand is the trial of the Justice Danladi Umar, who happens to be the chairman of the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Mr. Chairman, he said Justice Umar was charged to court on 25th January 2018 by the Federal High Court sitting in Abuja here. And the case has to do with the collection of bribes of 10 million naira from one Mr. Rashid Owolabi Taiwo in 2012. The alleged demand was made in relation to the case CCT ABJ 30/2012 involving Mr. Taiwo, which the offense contradicts section 12 subsection 1A and B of corrupt practices and other related offenses 2003. It was alleged that Mr. Umar, through his personal aide, Mr. Gambo, collected the sum of 1.8 million naira from Mr. Taiwo, and this was to subvert justice. Mr. Speaker, the investigation is still going on. Justice Umar is before an appeal court in this country, in Abuja. And the same Umar, earlier in the trial of the Senate President, had earlier acquitted the Senate President of any wrongdoing when he was before him. Now, the EFCC, which is under the supervision of the Attorney General of the Federation, now went back to court to appeal the judgment of the Court of Conduct Tribunal, in which 3 count charges were brought again back to the CCT to try the Senate President again. Mr. Speaker, before now, like I earlier said, the 3-man panel sitting with Justice Danladi Umar, chairing, had earlier taken a decision where they acquitted and freed the Senate President. The same Justice Umar was now later taken to court by the EFCC on the case of bribery and corruption. This justice, as we see today, is undergoing trial in the Federal Court of Appeal. And the same person is now asked by the Attorney General to come and sit on a case which he has already made a determination on it. Mr. Speaker, I'm a layman, I'm not a learned person. But common sense, if a decision has been taken by a judge who agree whether it is negative or positive, and you later went to appeal, the chief law officer who is represented by the Attorney General appealed this case in the Court of Appeal, and later this case is brought back to the same person. Is the case being brought back to the same person to say he was wrong, or are there any additional evidence to prove that the case was not well handled? Mr. Siyama, I think, Mr. Speaker and Honorable colleague, I think there is a problem here. I'm speaking as a layman, but I believe that if we have to come to justice, people must come with clean hand. The issue here is this: if peradventure Justice Danladi Umar is convicted of having collecting bribe in the case against him, does it not offer the judgment or the conviction he's going to make in the CCT null and void? Because you can't bring a corrupt person. It is under allegation for now. But if he's convicted, you are now saying a corrupt person should sit under judgment, should sit and preside over a case. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleagues, we are talking of fighting corruption. And if we must fight corruption, it must be done in very transparent manner. And the transparent manner I'm saying here is that, Mr. Speaker, the chief law officer of this country knows that this case is a criminal case against the Senate President, can be taken to a high court, which has jurisdiction over criminal cases like that. But if you bring it back to a case, to a judge who is already facing trial, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleague, I think the justice we demanded for will not be met. And it will make the international community and the whole world laugh at us. Are we really serious in the fight against corruption? Mr. Speaker, as I've earlier said, Africa itself has seen the effort of the Senate, of Mr. President in the fight against corruption. But I think we really need to give Mr. President a helping hand in a situation where the chief law officer, who is very learned, who is a senior advocate of Nigeria, who knows the law, will now reassign a case to a judge who has earlier vindicated or evicted, to summarize the case, who has already done away with it. Mr. Speaker, I think there's a problem. And that's why I'm calling on this House to really look into this issue, to make sure that we are talking about the system. We are talking about the manner it is done. We are not talking about anybody now. It will happen to any of us that you are taken to court, a judge who is sitting on your case, you are discharged and appointed, and again the federal government now take the case to appeal court, and the case is brought back to the same judge. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleague, I don't think there's transparency in this issue. It is not about anybody, but it's about the system. And that's why I'm calling on this House to condemn the way and manner the Attorney General is handling this issue. If he doesn't know, he should learn. As a senior advocate of Nigeria, we have a lot of senior advocates in Nigeria. He should go and learn from them. And the EFCC chairman, because I see no reason why you will assign that case again to the same landlady woman. That is one. Secondly, we need to find out what was the problem. Must it be assigned to this same landlady woman? So, Mr. Speaker, it is a very simple thing, but I believe that in the fight against corruption, we must do it thoroughly. We must not allow ourselves to be ridiculed in a situation where there is shrouded in secrecy. Mr. Speaker, if one wants to look at it with a pinch of salt, you will not say, oh, Justice Umar is being held by the groin to go and do a bidding which nobody knows the result of the bidding. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case. I want my colleagues to really talk and look at this thing in all sense of natural justice. If it is fair on Mr. Enlardi Umar or the Attorney General to assign that case to him and let him decide over that case. Mr. Speaker, I so move, and I believe we must talk about this and make sure we bring our recommendation and additional prayers that will help to sanitize our fight against corruption. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Pategi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues. Thank you. It's interesting that this motion was brought by the minority whip. It's a clear case of victimization and manipulation of our judicial system. This is a simple case that should have been resolved if we had followed the intention of the purpose of the act that is called the Code of Conduct Bureau Act. A provision is there to ensure that there is a discrepancy between the form you fill and the findings of the Bureau before they go to the tribunal. That they should intervene by coming to the declarant and ask if he owns up, then it should be corrected and the matter should have been laid to rest. Equally in that act, there was a case where there is a provision that says that there must be 3 judges that will sit in the tribunal. All this has been tested in court, and we know that this is a case of political manipulation. Why is it? Why do I say so? The president called us to a dinner, members and senators of the National Assembly, and told us how angry he was that he brought PDP into his administration by the election of Senator Ekoremabu as Deputy Senate President of this country. I was raising my hand. I wanted to respond. And this is the reason why the Senate President, the Chairman of the National Assembly, was taken to the tribunal. For indeed, if justice would be seen to be done by an administration that says it's fighting corruption, all of us, including the President, were all guilty of it. For indeed, if you have ordinary furniture in your house, you are supposed to declare it. And if you forget, you are to be called by the Bureau before taking the case to the tribunal. All this was not funny. Yet this is the first time in this country that the tribunal case will be appealed. It has never been done before. We remember the case of Tinubu. He was free and it was not appealed. Today, our leader, Tinubu, has met with the president to be the go-between the aggrieved parties, those that are aggrieved between the APC. How will it be possible now that Tinubu will sit with the Senate president and the president, or with National Rufai, who will know and has said repeatedly, and I can say it anywhere, that the Senate president is seen because he was told not to contest the Senate president and he come after him. This is the truth. It is politics, it is manipulation, and my take on this is that we as a house should rise to the occasion, because if the chairman of the National Assembly is being so victimized, then where is justice for the poor man, the ordinary Nigerian citizen? Those who toil day and night to ensure there is bread on the table every day. I am of the opinion that this issue should be dealt with today by us, and we should resolve this issue in a manner that portrays the justice is brought to bear on it. I believe that EFCC and the Code of Conduct Tribunal are political tools used by this administration to victimize those that they do not like their faces. It's a simple truth. And please, my colleagues, I want us to support this motion so that we can do justice to the issue. Thank you very much.
Honorable colleagues, I think it's better to be properly guided in the course of this debate. Let's not introduce issues that are speculative, really, something that we cannot prove. If I understand or understood the mover of the motion very well, he's not saying that any of us is above the law. The problem is the propriety or otherwise of the trial. That is the crux of the matter. And I recognize Honorable Sadiq to talk on two things, being a lawyer, whether in the circumstances it's proper formulating the question. For instance, to charge someone for a criminal offense before a judge who himself is standing trial for a criminal offense, whether it's something that our jurisprudence permits. And the essence of, I thought there was a judgment from that court, really. I'm not properly briefed as to what is going on. But if there was a judgment by that tribunal, what happens to the principle, established legal principle of functus officio? So, Honorable Sadiq, please.
Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, my name is Sadiq Ibrahim once again. I represent Forest of Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Adamawa State. To me, it's not for us as a legislature to venture a case on the political angle of this case. What is important is about justice. In a trial, it is an elementary principle of justice that justice must not only be done, but must be manifestly seen to be done. Manifestly seen to be done includes questions of natural justice. And natural justice of a trial connotes that a person who himself is alleged to have committed a crime cannot, under our law, cannot also be a judge for a case in which another person is alleged to have committed a crime. There is no manifest justice here if a person that is charged himself with a crime will now be asked to also try another person who is charged with a crime. That is settled under the principle of natural justice in Nigerian law. Secondly, if a case has been tried by a lower judge and it is appealed against, then a retrial has been ordered, as in this case. I think it is only fair for the young man, Justice Aladi, who I pity very much, for him to disqualify himself. He ought to disqualify himself because he too is being accused of another crime. So I think the question is as simple as manifest principles of justice, which must not only be done, but must be seen to be done, and the fact that the case has been sent back to the lower judge to trial, who himself is accused of another offense. I think these are the two principles to determine. If we determine that, I think we will all agree here that there is no manifest justice in this trial that is going on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm Razak Atunwa, representing ASA, Lower West Federal Constituency of Kwara State. Mr. Speaker, I shan't delve into particulars of the case which Honorable Badi has mentioned, because that matter indeed is sub judice. But nonetheless, I am very versed with the shenanigans and the intrigues that has occasioned the trial at the Code of Conduct Tribunal. Mr. Speaker, not to belabor the point, the Code of Conduct Tribunal is a tribunal. Of course, the Attorney General is the Attorney General of the Federation. The simple principle that you cannot be a person under suspicion, accused and charged before a court of competent jurisdiction, and then sit in another court to try cases of corruption. Mr. Speaker, you don't need to be a lawyer to see that that simply doesn't make sense. It is manifestly absurd. It is utterly preposterous. Mr. Speaker, it is further inscrutable to see that the Attorney General of the Federation has allowed this shenanigan to carry on. Early in 2016, Mr. Speaker, Danladi Umar, chairman of the CCT, was indeed said to have been cleared by the EFCC. A letter was written to him by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation that he was above suspicion and he was cleared. And it was on that basis that he proceeded to carry on sitting as chairman of CCT. Today, the table has been turned. The case of the Senate President before the CCT chairman is being prosecuted by the EFCC. I'm not going to go into the facts of the case. The case before the CCC chairman, I repeat, the case before the CCT chairman in respect of the Senate President is being prosecuted by the EFCC. The majority of the witnesses, the majority of the witnesses are EFCC witnesses. Yet it is the same EFCC that is charging the tribunal chairman before another court. What is a layman to think of that? In other words, you're saying, Mr. Chairman, the case I'm prosecuting before you with my witnesses, if you do not do what my witnesses, accept my witnesses' evidence, then of course, remember that you have a charge, that I am charging you before another court. But Mr. Speaker, as I've said, it is indeed manifestly preposterous. What's even more offensive, Mr. Speaker, is that we have an Attorney General who has done nothing, and indeed who may be an active participant in this matter, because he has given the fiat to the prosecutor. The prosecutor obtained this fiat from the office of the Attorney General. And therein is the connivance. The prosecutor is a man with a fiat from the office of Attorney General. And the same Attorney General looks on whilst the EFCC charges the chairman and the EFCC prosecutes before the same chairman. Mr. Speaker, it may indeed render, not just the case of the Senate President, it renders any conviction or findings made by the chairman from the date he was charged before a court of competent jurisdiction. It may make those findings or facts or convictions null and void. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, it may even make a finding of acquittal null and void. I should be worried if I was before the CCT chairman today immediately, if he acquits me, Mr. Speaker, I may not be satisfied with that acquittal because to the public, although not to the law, to the general public, it may be said, oh, you were acquitted by a man who is said to be corrupt. So if I bang my acquittal around the country, they will say to me, they will simply retort, well, away with you. You were acquitted by a man who is said to be corrupt. Mr. Speaker, it makes a mockery of our entire legal justice system. I think we should look into this matter, and I think there ought to be
Order.
And I think there ought to be sanity brought to this shenanigan, and it's gone on far too long, and a stop must be put to it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Honorable MT.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Taib Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Gazei, Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I want to answer the two questions that you formulated for determination of the House. One is whether a trial judge that is facing a criminal accusation can preside over a criminal matter. And then two, whether in the case instanta, the Court of Conduct Tribunal Chairman is focus official for him to preside over that matter. With regard to the first issue for determination, I want to submit that a judge that is being accused of a criminal offense can still preside over a criminal matter because the presumption of innocence in our constitution, which is the ground norm of the land, is fundamental and cannot be taken away. There is that presumption of innocence. Until you are proven otherwise, you are innocent in the eyes of the law. And therefore, the mere allegation of a criminal conduct cannot stop a judge from presiding over a criminal matter unless he is suspended. And in the case instanta, he has not been suspended. So he can assume jurisdiction. One, because there is presumption of innocence, and two, he has not been suspended. Then on the issue of whether he is focus official, in the case instanta, he is not assuming jurisdiction on a matter that he has already delivered judgment. In that case, it is res judicata. I submit that he cannot assume jurisdiction, he is focus official. But in the case instanta, it's a retrial from an appellate court. And therefore, he is right to assume jurisdiction and then preside over the matter. So I disagree with my learned colleague, Honorable Sadiq, and my learned colleague, Honorable Atunwa, on all the issues that you formulated for the determination and the answers that they gave to the issues that you formulated for determination. Thank you.
Honorable Adeogun.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Albert Abiodun Adeogun is my name, representing Ife Central, East, South, and North of Ife Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the source. Mr. Speaker, the question in this matter is the moral question. And I want to say before the House that there was a petition that was submitted in this House, which came before the Public Petition Committee in general. There was allegation at that time that the issue of demanding 10 million was involved, and that his age took 1.8 million, which EFCC claimed to have recovered it, and that at that material time, that this job was on bail. I asked a question from the Attorney General in that public hearing. I asked him, as the chief officer of this federation, is it right for a judge to have one-on-one relationship in this chamber with an accused person standing right before me? The response of the Attorney General was that whatever we think is speculative, that whatever we feel has nothing to do with that motion because we didn't know what transpired before the accused person and the judge. That shows, Mr. Speaker, that this country is not rule of law, it's rule of the law. It is immoral for this judge to continue to sit as a judge of that court, not even the case that is involving the Senate President. So, Mr. Speaker, we must condemn this attitude. And we all brought to reform the position of the government, the attitude to most of business is not fair and in the public here and within the internal community. You are becoming like this law. Mr. Speaker, I support this motion.
Honorable Gabriel will speak and then Anladi Tokpe will speak last.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Honorable Gabriel Onyewife. I represent Oyi. I am a federal constituency. I'm of Abga Baltimore extraction. Mr. Speaker, a lot has been said and canvassed regarding this motion. Mr. Speaker, the second paragraph in the motion is about the reprobation and the approbation by the Office of the Attorney General and the EFCC in respect of this issue in question. Mr. Speaker, one of the cardinal principles of law is that justice must be done and must be manifestly seen to be done. And in doing justice, justice is threefold. Justice to the accused person, justice to the complainant, and justice to the society at large. Mr. Speaker, in the circumstance, let us illustrate it very well. The Attorney General is the Chief Law Officer. He has taken, in collaboration with the EFCC, to court of the CCT chairman. It is the same office that has taken the Senate President before the other person he has accused of another crime. Now the question is, can the judge in this circumstance be free to administer justice? Bearing in mind that the same person who is prosecuting him is asking him to convict another person. Let us be realistic. Mr. Speaker, primarily and objectively, justice cannot be seen to be done in the circumstance because the man in exercising his discretion will equally remember that his groins are held in another trial. Mr. Speaker, we have no better option than to support this motion, and I still support it.
Last contributor, Honorable Tokpe. Can you speak to your mic, please?
See mic here.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
Okay, I think we have come to the end of debate on this motion. It's almost been an hour. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Next point of order is from Honorable Katum.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sunday Marshal Katum. I represent the people of Zangon Katam and Java Federal Constituency, and I'm from Kaduna State. My motion is premised on under 8 rules 4. It's a motion on a matter of urgent public importance, urging the need for the inclusion of Kaduna State and Plateau States in the states affected by the herdsmen farmers crisis that the National Economic Council Working Group subcommittee will visit for consultations. I therefore call on the House to suspend all relevant rules and consider this matter urgent to enable me take it immediately. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Dende.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Emmanuel Memga Mudende. I represent Kasinala Okum Logo Federal Constituency and Plenary State. I stand to second the motion as moved by my honorable colleague as so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. I serve it. Seconded to the second limb, Honorable Ponde.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Julius Bahagut of Ponde. I represent the very kind people, wonderful people of the federal constituency, Mr. Speaker, in Sokome from Delta State. I rise to second leg of the motion, ably moved by my colleague, Honorable Sunday Katongo. I so second.
Order.
Sunday Marshall Katung. I represent the people of Zango, Katab and Java Federal Constituency. I'm from Kaduna State. My motion is titled The Urgent Need for the Inclusion of Kaduna and Plateau States in the states affected by the herdsmen farmers crisis that the National Economic Council Working Group subcommittee will visit for consultations. The House recalls that the herdsmen farmers crisis is perhaps currently the singular and deadliest threat to Nigeria's national security. Further recalls that apart from the wanton loss of lives and massive displacement of persons, it is reported that Nigeria loses enormous resources annually as a result of these clashes. I encourage that the federal government, under the auspices of the National Economic Council, recently set up a working group subcommittee to be chaired by His Excellency David Umahi, the Executive Governor of Ebonyi State, to visit states affected by the herdsmen farmers conflict, to hold consultations with stakeholders and interested parties on how to bring an end to the conflicts. Note that the press release from the Office of the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria intimating of the setting up of the subcommittee named the affected states to be visited by the committee as Benue, Taraba, Zamfara, and Adamawa states. Concerned that 2 of the hotbeds of these conflicts, Kaduna and Plateau states, were presumably inadvertently omitted from the states to be visited by the subcommittee. Bearing in mind that in post-election violence in 2011, hundreds of people were killed in patterns suggesting a fallout from the herdsmen farmers conflict, that as recently as July 2017, that 7 persons were allegedly killed in Banono village in Kajuru local government area of Kaduna State in one of the clashes, and that according to reports, over 2,000 persons were killed in Benue and Kaduna States in 2016, and that every writing regarding the conflict has mentioned Kaduna State as one of the foregrounds of the crisis. Also bearing in mind that the crisis has assumed varying dimensions in Plateau State, sometimes under the characterization of crisis, that this is an age-long crisis in Plateau, in that every discussion regarding the conflict has identified Plateau State as one of the crisis-prone states. Anxious that the omission of these 2 states from the interactions and consultations with the subcommittee will only ensure that the conflicts are not finally comprehensively and conclusively addressed, which we believe is the true intent of the federal government. Determined that every effort must be put in place to save Nigeria from these needless and brutal killings, and that the inclusion of Kaduna and Plateau states will advance this objective. Resolves to mandate the Committee on Public Safety and Intelligence to immediately contact and liaise with the Office of the Vice President to ensure the inclusion of both Kaduna and Plateau states among the states affected by the crisis, that the National Economic Council Working Group Subcommittee will consult with and report to the House within 2 weeks. And so move, Mr. Speaker.
Any seconder? Honorable Karimi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Karimi Sunday. I'm from Kogi State. I represent the West East Mopamuru Federal Constituency. I hereby second the motion as moved.
Honorable Kato.
Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, this is yet another opportunity for us seated here to show Nigerians who truly care about what affects them as their representatives. This motion as presented is explicit in context and content, since it merely seeks for the inclusion of 2 states that we assume were inadvertently omitted amongst the states to be listed by the Presidential Committee despite their known history of crisis. To buttress my point and further justification in support of this motion, I have a compendium and historical analysis of this crisis in the 2 states as far back as 1980, with particular reference to Kaduna State. From 1980 to the year 2010, there were 16 major crises in Kaduna State with attendant loss of life and property of citizens. Again, from 2011 up to January 2018, there have been about 77 major conflicts, attacks, leading to many lives being lost and property, including houses, farm products, and businesses being destroyed. Also, in a recent summit organized by an NGO titled Search for Common Ground, in collaboration with Abu Salami Abubakar Institute for Peace and Sustainable Development, it said that in 2016 alone, about 2,500 people were killed, 62,000 people displaced, and 13.7 billion naira lost to herdsmen farmer crisis in affected states, and the states included Kaduna and Plateau. Also, it was reported Mr. Speaker, on 20th July 2017, it was reported in the Vanguard newspaper that about 33 people were killed in Kajuro village in Kaduna State following herdsmen and farmers crisis. Also, in this day newspaper of 27 January 2018, it stated that at least 5 people were killed, 8 severely injured, and 20 houses set ablaze in a fresh attack allegedly perpetrated by armed herdsmen in Jebu Miango village in Basa local government area of Plateau State. On the 27th of October 2017, citing with approval the Stephanos Foundation report that between 8th September and 17th October 2017, not fewer than 75 people were killed, 23 injured, 13,726 persons displaced, and 489 houses burned following attacks by suspected herdsmen in Rivwe Kingdom, Basa local government of Plateau State. Mr. Speaker, how long will this go on before we say enough is enough? The visit of the committee set up by the federal government was a welcome development and received with joy by all, but it turned to sadness for the citizens of these 2 states when they were overlooked in this noble objective aimed at bringing the wanton killing and destruction of property to an end. In the past, they often say belongs to history. The present belongs to us, and the future belongs to God and the next generation. But I hasten to add that those who forget their past are determined to repeat it, and our present is not secured as elites of our immediate environment and finally, what kind of future are we bequeathing to the next generation if we don't bring this to an end? On this note, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, I urge all of us to support this motion to give our fellow citizens in Kaduna and Plateau, and indeed any part of this country, a voice at this critical time. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable colleagues, my name is Jagaba Adams Jagaba, representing Kachaka Galpo Federal Constituency. I am of the PDP. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Jagaba? No. You can't do this now.
Point of order, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Zachary, what's your point of order? Honorable Zachary has a point of order.
Order. Oh, thank you, Mr. Speaker. By our last check, Mr. Speaker, my name is... No order. Wait now. No order. Order. I need protection. Which order? Which order? Privilege. My privilege. Matter of privilege. Mr. Speaker, my name is Zachary Mohammed. I represent Barutenka and my federal constituency. Mr. Speaker, I need protection. Please.
Honorable Zachary, please take your seat. Don't mind them. Honorable Jagaba, the truth is that I'm not aware, and the House is not aware. And as a ranking member, you know the right thing to do, and you haven't done it. So as far as we are concerned, you are still a member of the APC until you do the needful. So you can continue.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is well noted. That's well noted, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker,
please, order.
The point of order raised by my brother and friend, Honorable Katu, is a point that this House, is a motion that this House that must look with passion. Mr. Speaker, all this crisis about Fulani herdsmen started in southern part of Kaduna before it migrated to other parts of other states. This crisis has been on and on just for the past 6 years or thereabout. In one village, 153 people were slaughtered in the night in Bondong. And after that one, 50, 30, 60 in one local government. Then they spread it to Jamai, spread it to Sanga. Thousands of people lost their lives. Mr. Speaker, for the committee not to involve Kaduna in the consultation is unfair because they really don't want to treat the problem. They're trying to treat the symptoms, not the issues on ground. We need to be included. Mr. Speaker, as I'm talking to you, up to now, our people are still being killed. Last week, one of the biggest farmers in southern Kaduna was assassinated. And what was the reason? He was warned that the farm is occupied farming is too big. And that place, they love the grass in that place, so she should leave. If he doesn't leave, they'll kill him. And they kept threatening this man. Before you know it, last week, he was assassinated. Mr. Speaker, I want to say this without any apology. These herdsmen, the security men know where they are in southern Kaduna. Mr. Speaker, to protest that point, when the two expatriates were kidnapped, the two orderlies or security personnel attached to them were killed. As a result of that, the police went to the right point and surrounded them. And they started killing them because they killed the police. All the others ran away. The two expatriates is a fact on ground. We are left on their own. Nobody paid any compensation. Then the police, which means the police know what they're doing. In my constituency and the Binimwari constituency, where Shagaro is representing, and the leader, the chief whip, chief minority whip. These three constituencies in Kaduna are where these terrorist kidnappers are domicile or reside. There are people that were brought by the community, Mr. Speaker, because of the seriousness of the security agents. The people brought what they call the Hausa Yansape, which means the interveners or something like that. Yeah, they came under one night. They arrested over 100 of them. And over 27 AK-47 were recovered. These were the people police brought and parade that they arrested them. As we are talking now, Mr. Speaker, police are telling these people that, look, go, you are doing our work, we don't want you here. The governor of the state was approached to give support to the community because the community gathered each family 100 naira per day to feed 150 people in tavernas. The government refused to do it. That they are just arresting people without explanation. And Mr. Speaker, on daily basis they arrest them. That's why today you can drive to Kaduna, you don't fear any kidnappers because the presence of these interveners. The police are there, they're not doing anything. The governor is there, he's not doing anything. Mr. Speaker, let me say this. In this country, we have to run this country in such a way, a manner that everybody will have a sense of belonging. But when there's a security problem in one area, you give attention. In another area, you close your eyes. Mr. Speaker, is unfair to our people. Now, let me say this, Mr. Speaker. The number of people killed in our place by herdsmen are 3 times higher than the one killed in Benue. But why is the Benue case different? Because they have a governor that is standing by his people. They have a governor that is ready to handle the bull by the horn. That's why they are succeeding. That's why the international community, even state governors, are visiting to sympathize with them. But in our own case, we don't have a voice. Now, with this, Mr. Speaker, whom are we to take a cry to? I want to use this. If the Nigerian government cannot do this, if they have failed us, I believe the international community will hear this. The United Nations should hear this. And the most important thing, the Almighty God is hearing us. And He's going to send His ballistic missiles to destroy those AK-47. We are going to vote out people that are insensitive to our insecurity. We are going to vote out people that are not people-oriented in whatever they're doing. Mr. Speaker, that's a solace, and 2019 is by the law.
Members of the PDP should be careful so that you are not charged with trying to rig Jagaba's defection. So don't rig it. Honorable Dr. MS.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Dr. Mohammed Sani Abdu, Al-Kalerikiri Federal Constituency, original APC, and I will remain in APC, inshallah. But I am not here for the politicking part of it. Everybody will answer his father's name when he goes to the constituency. But for now, I stand to support the motion ably raised by Mr. Khatum responsibly. This is because of just a sentence said by Jagaba that the crisis of the herdsmen has its birth in southern Kaduna. And why I'm supporting this is that today, if the visitation takes place in Kaduna and Plateau, a different story will be told, because peace has returned to the plateau and peace is returning strongly to southern Kaduna by God's grace. Sir, I want to seek the indulgence of this to just read a paragraph of an article written by a professor of law from Ahmadu Bello University, that himself an indigent of southern Kaduna, what he has just discovered on going home for a weekend. His name is Professor Kiuka Lilimok. He's a professor of law from Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria. Right from his childhood, he used to go home from time to time to commune with nature in his village. And the name of the village is Bafai Kanai. He went recently, and as he went home within the vestibule of the house, he saw a young man with a stick going out of their own compound. And he said, by just, stereotyping, he felt in his mind that this is a Fulani boy. Then he went into the house and met his uncle. And he asked the uncle, who is this boy? The uncle answered, and I will quote. The uncle said, he is a Fulani boy. He slept in this house. Their kraal is not far from here. Our children go pasturing cattle with them. We have no problem with Fulani people here. They live among us, we live among them here. When I encountered the boy in the vestibule before I came to know he was a Fulani boy, I had spoken to him in Tiap, that is the local language of Kataf. And he responded me in the same language. What I was now being told was further corroborated by the boy speaking Tiap with me. I was as happy and as I was stunned by all these discoveries. He went on, and finally, he ended up saying, who are the limbs wrecking the stench and palming it off Fulani herdsmen? Who are the jinns spouting the dirt and pinning the rap in Fulani herdsmen? Who are the scoundrels raping the land while Fulani herdsmen are the fall guys taking the can? What is happening? Why can't our intelligence services unmask the masquerades causing chaos in the land and hand them over to the people for judgment? And I stand my case here. A lot of good is happening on the ground, and I think this visitation will unearth that people are reconciling at the grassroots. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
I said Dr. MS will speak last, but I recognize someone from Plateau State, one of the states mentioned in the motion, Honorable Idijam.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I rise to speak to this very important motion and to say it is indeed very important and timely, given the import of the initiative by the National Executive Council under the Vice President to engage and consult with stakeholders from the states adversely affected by this violent herdsmen attacks and farmer herdsmen conflict. Mr. Speaker, any initiative that is aimed at bringing the senseless killings to an end is most welcome. The concern raised by that Kaduna State and Plateau State are excluded from the affected states, as has been said, must have been an error of inadvertence. My constituency, Bariki-Ladi Riyom, today, Mr. Speaker, has over 44 villages that have been completely displaced and are under occupation, in addition to what is currently happening in Basa local government, particularly in Mayango Chiefdom, and also in Bokos local government of Plateau State, where we are still witnessing loss of lives as a result of these violent attacks. Mr. Speaker, the committee constituted under the National Economic Council will have the opportunity to come face to face with the plight of the victims of displacement as a result of this violent attacks in Plateau State. The need, therefore, for the recovery that the committee going should, as part of its mandate, that this House would want to include is that, apart from engaging with the stakeholders, the issue of recovery of lands that are under occupation and the reconstruction of destroyed villages, reintegration of displaced persons and communities is something that should be taken into consideration. I want to once again support this motion that Plateau and Kaduna State be included in the visitation panel that has been constituted by the National Economic Council. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues. That's my submission.
Honorable colleagues, those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. First business of the day is presentation of 7 bills. I now invite the clerk to read the short titles.
Council for the Registration of Travel Agents of Nigeria Bill 2018, first reading. Central Bank of Nigeria Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Tertiary Education Trust Fund Act Amendment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal College of Agriculture Okehi Eteche Establishment Bill 2018, first reading. Federal Polytechnic Yala Establishment Bill 2018, first reading.
Honorable colleagues, the second business of the day is presentation report of Committee on Aviation on the fact-finding visit to Enugu, Port Harcourt, Lagos, and Abuja airports, standing in the name of Honorable Nkiruka Onyechocha. Honorable members recall the committee carried out the visit pursuant to Order 18, Rule B, and Rule 17.2, Sub-Rule 2A of the Standing Orders of the House. The report is ready for presentation, and I now call on Honorable Nkiruka to present it.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am Nkiruka Onyechocha. I present the good people of Swatumulo, Federal Constituency, and from Abia State.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I move that this House do receive the report of the Committee on Aviation on the fact-finding visits to Enugu, Port Harcourt, Lagos, and Abuja airports, pursuant to Order 18 Rule 17.2A of the Standing Orders of the House of Representatives. I so move.
Honorable Betty Apiafi.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Abua Udua Lamida Federal Constituency. I'm from Rivers State. I rise to second the motion ably moved by Honorable Nkiruka as to second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Honorable Nkiruka, please proceed and lay the report. Honorable members, the third business of the day's presentation report of Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on a bill for an act to amend the National Broadcasting Commission Act, Chapter N11, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for competition in Nigeria to promote efficiency and expand opportunities for Nigerian participation in world markets, while at the same time recognizing the role of foreign competition in Nigeria, and for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Adebomi Dokun. Honorable members will recall that the bill was referred to the committee on Thursday, 14th January 2016. The report is ready for presentation, and Honorable Dokun is now invited to present it.
Please, quiet, please, order. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Honorable Mushekun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Federal Constituency. I write that the House do receive the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Value on the bill for an act to amend the National Broadcasting Commission Act, Cap 11, Law of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to provide for the competition in Nigeria, to promote efficiencies and expand opportunities for Nigerians of participation in world market, while at the same time recognizing the role of the foreign competition in Nigeria and for related matter. I so move.
Honorable Nana.
Thank you, my amiable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Rapper Nana Ibokwe, my name, and I represent the good people of Ayazo, isn't it, MD Federal Constituency of Imo State. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Olusegun. I so support. Second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Yes. Are you raising the personal? No need. Okay. First order of the day is the third reading. Oh, Honorable Dokun is now invited to proceed and lay the report. First order of the day is the third reading of the bill for an act to amend the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission Establishment, etc. Act 2010. Make provisions for the reduction of percentage on revenue generated by any company authority from the operations of hydroelectric dams and for related matters. Honorable members will recall that the House adopted the report of the Committee of the Whole on the bill Tuesday 30th January 2018. Therefore, call on Leader of the House to move the bill be now read the third time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that a bill for an act to amend the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission Establishment Act 2010 to make provision for the reduction...
Order, please.
For the reduction of percentage on revenue generated by any company or authority from the operations of hydroelectric dams and for related matters, HB 1213, read a third time.
Honorable Fijabi, please have your seat.
Any seconder? Seconder. Honorable Nuruddin.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Akiwumi Nuruddin Olaiton. I represent the good people of Ifakoijayi Federal Constituency from the State of Excellence, Lagos. I hereby rise to second the motion as moved by the leader. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. I invite the clerk to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Hydroelectric Power Producing Areas Development Commission Establishment, etc. Act 2010 to make provision for the reduction of percentage or revenue generated by any company or authority from the operations of the hydroelectric dams and for related matters. Third reading.
Bill read the third time and passed. The second order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of bill for act to provide the 20% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments and agencies and companies be distributed amongst the fiscally challenged persons. Bajabi Miller to move the bill be now read second time.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to move that a bill for an act to provide that 20% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments, and agencies and companies be distributed among the physically challenged persons in Nigeria, and for related matters, HB 1261 be read a second time. I so move.
Seconder will be Honorable Chidoka.
Please, members, go back to your seats.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Honorable Fijabi.
My name is Obina Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Mr. Speaker, I rise this morning to second that the bill to provide for an act that 20% jobs available in all federal government ministries
Honorable John Diek.
be read, be moved by Honorable Miller, be read a second time. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Leader, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Chidoka, for seconding the motion to read this bill a second time. Mr. Speaker, this bill, as the name or the title connotes, is basically a bill that seeks to do what we should have done a long time ago. That is, to make room for our fellow Nigerians who, due to no fault of theirs, and even if it was their fault, are physically challenged, are unable to live their lives optimally. Mr. Speaker, it is a piece of landmark legislation
Honorable Zango Daura, please
which affirms,
go back to your seat.
Affirms the provisions of the Constitution that there shall not be any discrimination against anyone in Nigeria due to his status or his station in life. Mr. Speaker, not too long ago,
Honorable John,
we were all in these chambers.
Honorable John Dieg, please go back to your seat.
When we received and honored yet another physically disabled, challenged person in the name of Abdul Salam Idowu, who had trained himself to be a lawyer, saw how difficult it was for him to come down the chambers, ingress and egress out of the chambers. Mr. Speaker, it is important at this point that we understand that our primary purpose of government, as dictated in the Constitution, is the security and welfare of Nigerians. It does not say the security and welfare of some Nigerians. It does not say the security and welfare of able-bodied Nigerians. It says the security and welfare, bar none, of all Nigerians. And that is the essence of this bill, to give equal opportunity to all and sundry. Mr. Speaker, the proposed Physically Challenged Empowerment Bill 2017 is a bill that seeks to improve on the welfare of the physically challenged persons of the society. It is our own form, you may want to call it that, of affirmative action. It is basically, all it does is to allocate a special status, more or less, or 20% of jobs available in Nigeria, in ministries, in state house, in government agencies, to those who otherwise would not be able to get this job. Now the bill provides that physically challenged person must be qualified. Nobody is saying that you should employ somebody who is not qualified simply because he's physically challenged. No. What this bill is saying is that once you are physically challenged, that irrespective that physical challenge, you are entitled, like any normal person, to secure employment. Every day in Nigeria we talk about unemployment. When we talk about unemployment of the youth, we're actually only talking about, we're assuming that we're talking about employment of youth that are able-bodied. If we involve or include the statistics of the physically challenged people who are unemployed, we will be surprised how that number will skyrocket. Mr. Speaker, the people of whom I speak, men and women, they are people with mothers, they have fathers, they have children, they have dependents. Those dependents don't look at them and say, okay, my father is physically challenged, therefore he doesn't need to provide for me. They have responsibilities. This may not be a welfare state, but there is no state that does not have an element of welfareism to it. And it is important that we take care of these people. Mr. Speaker, the world recognizes them. We have what they call Paralympics in recognition of these people. It is therefore important, like I said, it will be a piece of landmark legislation for this House to pass this bill. There is no community, there's no federal constituency that does not have physically challenged people. We represent them. We must take care of them.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, the provisions of this bill are very clear. Section 8, or Section 1 is the key section which provides for the 20%. Sections 2 and 3 and 4 are regulatory in the sense that the sections provide for how the purpose of the bill will be achieved. And Section 5 defines who is a physically challenged person. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I plead with you that let us bring some humaneness to legislation. These people are going to go out to vote. So it is not okay for us to say we want or we need them, us to turn our backs. And I know I saw the reaction of members, every single member, when Abdul Salam came here. And I believe that reaction, those emotions, will be translated into legislation. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, honorable colleagues.
Honorable Keita.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I remain Ahmed Baba Keita, representing HQ Kusada of Constituency. Mr. Speaker, right honorable colleague, first of all, I would like to point out that this bill is long overdue, and it's a wake-up call for all of us to make sure that we discharge our responsibility to the less privileged or handicapped people in Nigeria. Mr. Speaker, the trend all over the world is such that it's taking cognizance, not only in education or in employment, but even in passage. If you notice, in the National Assembly here, it's only lately that we begin to put our handicapped people into consideration. Now, over the years that the leader is talking about, the handicapped people in Nigeria has suffered an undue disadvantage because they were sidelined, they were not given their due dues as Nigerians. When I say due dues, if, for example, a first-class lawyer, or just like we see the person that came here, apply with a full body, but somebody that is not handicapped, chances are there the other person will get more an employment before this handicap. So I really agree with the leader of this house, and we have to try and make sure that this bill passes so that we take care of our handicap. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tan Monguno. I represent Marche Monguno Ganzai, Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, I wholeheartedly support the second reading of this bill. Though in the course of his submission, the leader made reference to the fact that though Nigeria is not a welfare state, yes, I agree that Nigeria is not a welfare state, but the vision of our founding fathers is to build an egalitarian and just society. And it is in the quest to have an egalitarian and just society that triggered the sponsorship of this bill for second reading. As observed by Honorable Keita, people that are physically challenged or having disabilities in this country are discriminated against when it comes to employment. So there is a need for legislative framework, legislative intervention as responsible parliament to the yearnings and aspirations of Nigerians that gave us the sacred mandate to represent them, to legislate with a view to taking care of this group of Nigerians that were disadvantaged as a result of their situation in life in course of employment in various MDS of Nigeria, of the government. So this bill is apt and germane
in view of the fact that people that are physically challenged are discriminated in this country, and this piece of legislation, if eventually sees the light of the day, will go a long way in trying to ameliorate the unnecessary hardship that people that are physically challenged being subjected to this country. I therefore support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
Chairman, Rules of Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff. I represent the group people of Madia College. I'm from Plenary State. Mr. Speaker, I want to join others who have spoken before me. Also support the second reading of this bill. Of course, this bill only seeks to give flesh to the constitutional provision that rejects any discrimination of any person based on parameters including his, whether he's deformed or not. I think this bill is work in progress, having said that, because I have a quarrel with fixing a percentage for employment into any of the NGOs, because you will end up at the end of the day, you may end up criminalizing. Because if you look at section 7 of the bill, says that if you flout any of the provisions of this bill, 500,000 or a fine of 1 year or both. Unwittingly, you will end up criminalizing people who have no intention to commit any offense. What do I mean? If you say every MDA should devote 20% of their employment, of their workforce to the physically challenged, well, there are certain agencies of government that are highly specialized. What if you don't have enough of these people to form the 20%? So this is work in progress. I agree wholeheartedly that we allow it for second reading, but maybe the experts will come and work this bill in order to bring it in tandem with the constitutional provision. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Now everyone wants to speak on this bill, and it appears that this row is trying to monopolize the debate. I don't know, I'll recognize two more and then move to this row. Honorable Nana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Rafa Nandi Bokwe is my name, and I represent the good people of Ayers, Resident MBC, Federal Constituency of Imo State. Mr. Speaker, I would want to first enjoin members of this House to take up this bill as a bill of the House of Representatives, because of the very significance of this bill, presenting us as a House that is concerned about a critical group of the people in the society who are not privileged. We belong to the Inter-Parliamentary Union, which have also commissioned national parliaments to take initiative in presenting legislation to support people with disability. And in this case, the mover of the bill have only tried to introduce a reasonable, by his perception, what should be the number of percentage to be allocated to people who are applying for federal jobs. The bill will go further than that to also ensure in every other areas of engagement, not only employment, of skill acquisition, development, to give due consideration to people who are physically challenged. Accepted, like the chairman of the Rules and Business have said, that yes, where a penalty is fixed, the law cannot go that way. It always comes with a proviso. Where this, in this sector, this number of percentage cannot be attained, yes, the agency, the department shall have rights to now encroach and get people from the other, just like what we have in our local content law, in our immigration laws, where we can only take people where, yes, Nigerians are not, there are no Nigerians qualified for that position at that point. And that is something that is applicable. It's something that can be cured. And I'm happy that this bill will be going for public hearing, where all relevant stakeholders, especially the fiscally challenged, the disabled group, will be able to come and make their contribution. I think it's a landmark legislation if we're able to push it. And it should not only stop here, Mr. Speaker. I know you, that you also ensure that this House takes steps to engage our members in the Senate to make sure that this legislation sees the light of the day, so that we can be seen as a responsive House who are really concerned about this group that are physically challenged in the society. Giving good employment is very fundamental, because it also amounts to them having access to resources in taking care of them. You agree with me that access to good employment means access to good income. Access to good income means access to good welfare. So if we're interested in the welfare of this critical group in the society, we don't have any reason not to support and pass this legislation. I want to stop my case here and urge my colleagues to support the spirit and the letters of this bill. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Kanike.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I'm Dakonike Abubakar. I represent the Ilorin East, Ilorin South Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I'm from Kwara State. I want to support the spirit and intentions of the leader for moving this very auspicious bill. I think we have, for a very long time, neglected the physically challenged in this country. From the fact that even their access to public infrastructure, we don't put them in the consideration for our designs. We have done a lot of disservice to this segment of our brothers and sisters. So this bill is apt. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, I also want to acknowledge that as a nation, we must also applaud what I think we have fairly done for the physically challenged. I think we've been between the public and the private institutions. We've provided platform for educating these people. And recently, the institution that was commissioned by Mr. President in Nasarawa, again for the physically challenged people, is a testimony to the fact that we have done our fair bit in making sure that they have proper education. But having provided proper education, there is a disconnect between educating them and providing them the opportunity of work, which the spirit of the bill seeks to attend to. But I must also raise my concerns about the issue of the statistics or the statistical component of the bill. If I'm supposed to hazard a guess, I don't think we have 20% of Nigerians as disabled. And when we are now allotting 20% of employment to the physically challenged people, I think there is an issue with statistics there. So I support members that have cautioned on this blanket allotment. We need to put into consideration what statistics of Nigerians are in this sector and what statistics of those that fall within this category have gotten proper education to be able to fill the slots. So it is my consideration that there must be proper provision for them. So I'll employ colleagues to pass the bill for second reading, but by the time we do the public hearing and the committee works on it, we should look at what is more appropriate, because I must also say that there are a lot of Nigerians that are not physically challenged, but they are also challenged by the fact that they are not empowered, they don't have employment and everything. So we should not make sure that we have slots that is not going to be utilized by the physically challenged. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity.
Last from this row will be Honorable Abdul Samad and Ogene. If you can keep it short, simple and snappy.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'll keep it short and snappy. I'm Abdul Samad Desuki, representing Kebe Tambuwal from Sokoto State. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to support this bill in its totality. But while supporting it, I would like, in the course of the public hearing, for the House or the leader, mover of the bill, to make a categorical of those who are physically challenged. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, in my interest, only yesterday I read in the papers where we have one of the forces, that is the Nigerian police to be precise, was talking about who should qualify to be employed into the police and who shouldn't be. And for the first time, I got to hear malfunction of the chief is a disability. This was in the papers by the police yesterday. Not only that, for the first time I heard that Bolex is a disability and you shouldn't apply if you have Bolex. They said speech impediment is a disability. You shouldn't apply if you have it. All this I'm saying is in the papers, advertorial by the police yesterday. So, Honorable Leader, while supporting this in its totality, I would like you to consider who is a physically disabled Nigerian and who is not. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Honorable colleagues.
Very nice. Okay, but make it short, simple, and snappy, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm worried about the statistics. I'm not too sure if the percentage of disabled Nigerians, is more than 5%. And I'm not too sure of the definition of disabled. We need to get the two things right. Like my colleague said, I know somebody who went for employment in one of the forces, and they said he has a big diaphragm, and that was considered a disability. So we need to define what is disability. And then also, we need to fine-tune the percentage. To my mind, the percentage of people you can say are really disabled in the society is probably about 2.5% of the population. And I think that if we allocate something like 5% to them, that would be more appropriate. Otherwise, you have a situation where you reserve 20%, you don't have enough disabled people to fill it, and then people who are able will pretend to be disabled to fill the position. This is where my concern is. So the percentage, I support this bill, but I think we need to rejig it to determine the percentage of disability and what actually is a disabled person. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ayo Mitra.
It's because he didn't say princess. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Ayo Omidiro, member representing the people of Ayedade, Irewole, Ishoko Federal Constituency, and from the state of Osun. I rise to fully support this bill, and honorable colleagues, what's there not to support in this bill? If by considering passage of this bill, we think that we are going to do the physically challenged people a favor, we have to think again. We will be doing ourselves a huge favor by passing this bill. We know that there is dignity in labor, but do these people have the opportunity to contribute their own quota to the development of this country in a dignified manner? This is one thing that this bill is going to address by having a template that if you endeavor to get quality education, to get some form of training, to give you a chance to qualify to be employed somewhere, a certain percentage is already set aside there. You are most likely going to get that employment. Why won't every physically challenged person try to improve his or her life by going through this. As we are now, there isn't any incentive to anybody physically challenged to try to go to school. We know that whatever it takes an able-bodied person to go through training, whether in the school or even a vocational training, it will take a physically challenged person more than 4 times the effort to be able to get the same kind of training. And now, they go through all that, they are not even sure of having the opportunity to be able to put the training into practice. So this bill, regardless of the percentage we put, having that percentage set aside is enough incentive. Apart from that, the leader spoke about the Paralympic athletes. Nigeria does not know how much we are losing generally by neglecting the physically challenged Nigerians in our midst. If we take into consideration the glory that our Paralympic athletes bring to the country from their various outings, then we will have an idea of what to expect if we allow all our physically challenged people to have this opportunity in all their various ways to contribute to the growth of the country. Then we will realize that we have been ignoring them and we have been depriving ourselves what they can contribute. So I urge all of us to help ourselves by passing this bill, and at the end of the day, we will all be proud that we have. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Aminu Shehu-Shagari.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Aminu Shehu-Shagari, representing Yabo Shagari constituency in Sokoto State.
Honorable Aliu Madaki, please can you have your seat?
Honorable Aliu Madaki, please take your seat. Honorable EJ.
EJ,
please take your seat.
please.
John,
go back to your seat.
It appears the PA system is not working well. Let them check it, please.
Thank you once again, Mr. Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to speak on something that I'm very passionate about. Mr. Speaker, my first assignment when I came to this House was that I was Chairman House Committee on Human Rights. And together with Honorable Asike Dabiri Erewa, we sponsored the People with Disability Bill. It was a very popular bill that had a lot of goodies for people with disability. I'm emphasizing the word people with disability because that is how they want to be referred to, not physically challenged. So a person can be physically all right, but he could have a disability. So the proper acronym should be right to accessibility to public buildings, even down to rights of public announcements in public places, and even wheelchair, functioning wheelchair at places like airports, and right to board aircraft before other people, and so on and so forth. So when we go to this honorable house, people with disability.
Honorable Sugar, Honorable Kaita, please take your seats.
The issues that need to be canvassed during that public hearing is the percentage, 20%, as also pointed out by Dr. Kanike. I'm also concerned with this percentage. We would now look at it. I'm not saying it's too high, I'm not saying it's too small, but we need experts to give their opinion on the proper percentage that this bill should have, so that we are not unnecessarily harsh on any side. Then the other issue I want to raise is the issue of companies it says a bill for an act to provide that 20% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments, and agencies and companies. That is the problem I have, sir. Companies are legal entities, and they're driven by profit. So if you ask a company, for instance, a construction company, to have 20% of its staff that have a disability, I think you are actually giving them more liabilities than assets. So you need to look into this during public hearing. I would rather we have the armed forces have a certain percentage of people employed, in the armed forces, because nowadays wars are not fought with physical muscles. There's a lot of things that could be done with computers. I'm sure a wheelchair-ridden person will be more useful in the armed forces than a pot-bellied Oga at the top, who cannot run a 100-meter race. So why don't we look at areas in the armed forces where we can have them, where we can have Stephen Hawking, who is number one authority on space, on the cosmos, or whatever. He cannot even smile, but he's the greatest authority we have on Earth, on the cosmos. So what I'm saying is that we can have people with disability in our armed forces in strategic places where they can be accommodated. So that is what this bill, when we come to public hearing, should look at. I support this bill wholeheartedly, and I urge my colleagues to please support it. Thank you.
Honorable Betty.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, my name is Betty Apiafi. I represent Abua Uduala, that is Federal Constituency. I'm from Rivers State. Mr. Speaker, I'd like to continue with where Honorable Shagari stopped on this bill. Some of us, we are part and parcel of the disability bill, which in the last house got up to the president for assent, but for some reason it wasn't assented to. And I would rather we revive the disability bill, and this bill can be part of the disability bill. The reason being that if you want to employ physically challenged people, where are they going to work? The offices where they are going to work don't have ramps, don't have any facilities to aid them even going to work. But the disability bill is more comprehensive and has provisions for public facilities, for public infrastructure, to make provisions for disabled people. And like Honorable Shagari said, the disability bill is more comprehensive in terms of definitions. In this bill, we have the definition of people who are physically challenged as those people who are blind, people who have either one or both upper or lower limbs being amputated, or any person who is deaf or dumb, or any person whose limbs have not been amputated but is unable to work easily. And again, it says for the purpose of this bill, dwarfs and midgets are not physically challenged. I think the definition of physically challenged in this bill is too narrow and not as comprehensive as what we have in the Disability Act. Again, we talk about statistics. The bill also says that physically challenged persons, Section 4 of it, with no physically challenged person shall be employed under this act unless the physically challenged person possesses the minimum qualification for the job in the relevant ministry, department, or agency. So the question is, where did we get the 20% statistics we are using for the to ensure that 20% of physically challenged people are employed? I think the statistics are a bit faulty. And then, of course, we have the issue of implementation. All of us are aware that as a nation, we have the Federal Character Law. And we have not been able to implement the Federal Character Law. Today, we have a situation where the entire military chiefs in Nigeria are from one section of the economy. Currently, employment is going on in almost every MDA. And what is the Federal Character reflection in the employments going on everywhere? We don't have that because people are just employing people haphazardly. How do we intend to enforce this law? The mover of the bill has said people will pay a fine of 500,000. I think fine of 500,000 is also too small for people who default from implementing this bill if it comes to be signed into law. I mean, I think bail terms should be included in it. But all in all, I would like to suggest to the leader of the House that we should see how to bring back the disability bill, and this bill should actually be a section of the Disability Act. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Sam.
Honorable Speaker, colleagues, Honorable Sam Ikon, representing Tinan Sidibom Surubium Federal Constituency from the Common State of Akwa Ibom. Honorable Speaker, let me commend the mover of this bill and also state that I was already working on a motion like this based on an experience I had a few weeks back traveling home when a physically challenged person delayed us for almost an hour in a bid to board the plane. And I realized that our airlines had not made arrangements for such a situation. As such, when I saw this bill, I was very excited that it will help providing some framework to resolve the issue. And arising from further deliberations here, as the last speaker on the was said about the provisions of the Disability Act, I think if we find a way of merging both, it will deepen the process of resolving this issue. I also seriously like the word people with disabilities because it also takes into consideration a wider basket of people. Like stated, those who are not physically challenged will have some disability. As such, we limit it to people physically challenged. Throw those ones out of the basket of consideration. So, Honorable Speaker, I support this bill, but I would also ask that we look holistically alongside disability so that there should be some deepening of the process. Otherwise, we'll have a situation where this one will make certain provisions will be different from the provisions the other bill will be making, and at the end of the day, we may not, for purposes of implementation, synchronize properly. Also, on the issue of punishment, I would like to add that aside from the monetary aspect, we should also include disciplinary action for public civil servants who are involved in this. Very, 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 very serious disciplinary actions like demotions and dismissals, so that in the enforcement process people can be a bit careful. It is my joy that this bill has come up and it will help, because we realize that most of these people are very sound, very brilliant, intelligent persons that are adding value to our society, but because the law itself and the operations of government and all of these issues have not given them that sense of belonging. We find that they're shy away, or they are not properly placed in society where they're supposed to be. Yet we all travel out and see how they are even placed first-class citizens in other places. They have more advantage than you in other climes. They are given first. They are looked at first before you, in terms of provisions, in terms of access, in terms of facilities. But over here, they are placed behind. And you realize that at times, people, even in high places, don't even show respect or dignity to these people. And yet, they are not, most of them are graduates, most of them are lawyers and doctors and everything that you are. So, I totally support this bill, but Mr. Speaker, like I said, based on the contributions of Honorable Bandira and Shagari and there is need to integrate the two and see that we holistically approach this issue and out on most of the facts that will help resolve the lacunas that we have as at now. But I thank honorable colleagues for supporting this the mover for bringing this to bear, and I totally support this bill. Thank you very much.
Honorable Chimo, the last contributor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. My name is Chimo Ibrahim Olajide. I represent Lagos Mainland, Federal Constituency, Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, sir, this House Bill 1261 is one of the qualitative bill we are going to do in this House, simply because it's reformative and is transformative. Mr. Speaker, sir, if one wants to go by this bill, it's well intended because this bill itself is talking about a certain people who form the integral parts of this society. It's talking about a group of people who are also very, very important in our society. The bill is talking about physical. It could be sensory, either of the way. When somebody is physical, we know this person is physically challenged. And when somebody is not fit, sensorily, we know this person is not too fit to do one or two things. Mr. Speaker, sir, for the fact that this bill has come to the floor of this House, it's going to be part of the legislation that will help our society, simply because it might be impossible for some of these kind of people to gain this kind of advantage. And for the fact that we are legislating today, that means we are reforming within to assist and help in this situation. Even if you have regulations before now or directive before now, directive cannot be equated with decision. And decision can never be equated with legislation. This is about law, this is about reform. And this is a law that has to be enacted by this House. That we make things happen in the real sense of it. So that there will be laid down procedural rules and regulations to legalize what is on the ground. And Mr. Speaker, sir, for them to have 25%, 20%, it will assist that sector because they will also obtain permanent job to fend for themselves. Mr. Speaker, I know this is an intervention that is very germane and necessary. And for the fact this is happening, give glory to God. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable colleagues, cautious the bill will now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerks invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Member, a bill for an act to provide that 20% of jobs available in all federal government ministries, departments and agencies and companies be distributed among the physically challenged persons in Nigeria and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill is referred to Committee on Women Affairs, Labor, Employment and Productivity. Third order of the day is commencement of debate on the general principles bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration for related matters standing in the name of the House Leader. Honorable members who recall the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking concurrence of the House, read the first time on Tuesday, 19 December 2017. Now I invite the leader to move the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to move that a bill for an act to establish the Federal University of Agriculture, Kaba, to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters 8B 1259 be read a second time. I so.
Honorable Engineer Farouk.
Mr. Speaker, sir, honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Engineer by Umar Farouk, representing Building Chemical Global Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise to stand the motion ably moved by Plenary.
Leader, please lead the debate.
Like you rightly said, this is a bill that is up for concurrence. I believe hitherto the University of Agriculture had some lapses in its management and administration, and what this bill seeks to do is basically to make provisions, plug the lapses so that there can be proper management and administration of the university. Mr. Speaker, the Senate has worked thoroughly on this bill. I was actually present at the Senate on the day it was being debated, and it went through a thorough debate, and I believe that we should concur and let this bill go for be ready second time. I so move.
Honorable Karimi is speaking against the bill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My colleague. My name is Karimi Sunday. I represent Yamba West East. I'm a Pamo Federal Constituency. I'm from Kogi State. My colleagues, I rise to vehemently support this bill. University of Agriculture Kaba is has been a campus of ABU's area since early 70s, and the infrastructure there is just like a university, and every other campuses like that in the northern region. Talk of even the UK was a campus of ABU's area. You talk of even Unijos was a campus of University of Ibadan. Even University of Agriculture Makurdi was a campus of University of Jos. Several like that has been turned into university. Why College of Agriculture Kaba up to today has remained a campus of ABU. In fact, it was almost being converted to the university the last time they did, they created universities, federal universities in Nigeria. But that plan was aborted. This campus of ABU's area is overdue as university. The infrastructure provision they are here, in fact, do not take government much to upgrade it to a full-fledged university. And Kaba is centrally located to get students all over the nation. You know, Kaba, I've been the headquarters of Kaba province for long. So I urge my colleague to speedily pass this bill. Thank you.
Honorable colleagues, the question is that the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes of it. I invite the clerk to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish Federal University of Agriculture Kaba to make comprehensive provisions for its due management and administration and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Announcement here. Just to inform honorable members that the Ambassador of the United States to Nigeria will be visiting the Nigeria-US Friendship Group, Interparliamentary Friendship Group at the National Assembly on Tuesday next week by 2 p.m. All interested members of the House should please attend. Honorable Ija Boima, I thought it's only members of your committee that should attend. Why should members be interested in the visit? The fourth order of the day, honorable colleagues, is commencement of debate on the general principles of a bill for an act to amend the Federal Colleges of Education Act, Chapter F8, Laws of Federation of Nigeria 2004, to align the colleges of education affected by boundary adjustment as a result of state's creation and establish Federal College of Education, Malam Maduri, Jigawa State, to address the current imbalance in the establishment and distribution of federal institutions of the state and for related matters. Standing in the name of the House Leader, honorable members recall the bill was transmitted from the Senate seeking concurrence of the House, read the first time Tuesday 19 December 2017. Now I invite the leader to move the bill now the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise once again to move that a bill for an act to amend the Federal Colleges of Education Act, Cap F8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to align the colleges of education affected by boundary adjustment as a result of state's creation, and to establish Federal College of Education, Malam Maduri, Jigawa State, to address the current imbalance in the establishment and distribution of federal institutions in the state. And for related matters, 8B1260 be read a second time, I assume.
Seconder, Honorable Frederick.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. Agbedi Yejemne Frederick is my name. I represent Sabama Kirima Federal Constituency. Izongeme, I am from Bayelsa State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise to second that the bill be read a second time as a second.
Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And thank you, Honorable Fred, for seconding this bill. Notice that Honorable Fred, anytime it comes to education, is always quick to support anything that advances education in Nigeria. Thank you very much. Mr. Speaker, like the previous bill, this is a concurrent bill that was thoroughly debated in the Senate. Again, on this one, I was present on the floor of the Senate. I heard the debates. It was thoroughly and comprehensively debated. And I do not think it speaks for itself. The long title speaks for itself. I do not think we should subject it to much unless there are members if there's any member who has anything against aligning the colleges of education affected by boundary adjustment. And I don't suppose that there's any such member present on the floor today. So therefore, to save time, Mr. Speaker, I will urge and plead with members that we allow this to be read a second time and go to the committee. I so submit.
Honorable colleagues, the question is the bill be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to amend the Federal Colleges of Education Act, Chapter F8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to align the colleges of education affected by boundary adjustments as a result of state's creation and to establish Federal College of Education, Malam Maduri, Jigawa State, to address the current imbalance in the establishment and distribution of federal institutions in the state and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee of the Whole. Fifth order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on general principles of bill for an act to establish a Federal College of Education, Jama'ar Bauchi State, to provide full-time courses, teaching instructions, training, technology, applied sciences, arts, social sciences, humanities, management for related matters, standing in the name of Honorable Isa Hassan Mohammed. Honorable members who recall the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 21st November 2017. I now invite Honorable Mohammed to move the bill be now read the second time.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. I'm Isa Hassan Mohammed, representing Jama'ar Itaskadau. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Bauchi State. I'd like to move the motion, the bill for an act to establish the Federal College of Education, Jama'ar Bauchi State, to provide full-time courses, teaching instruction and training in technology, applied science, arts, social sciences, humanities, and management, and for other related matters. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, highly esteemed colleagues. I'm Honorable Aisha Jibril Duku, Bibiyar Duku, Jakadiyar da Stafarko. I rise to second this very, very important bill for the establishment of a Federal College of Education in Jama'are, Bauchi State. I so submit.
Honorable Isa Hassan, please lead the debate.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and honorable colleagues once again. Isa Hassan Mohammed, Grand Jamari Gadoan from Bauchi State. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on a bill for an act to amend the Federal Colleges of Education, Act Cap F8, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to establish a Federal College of Education in Jama'are, Bauchi State, to address the current imbalance in the establishment and distribution of federal educational institutions in the state and federation in general. Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, let me crave your indulgence to highlight the background of this bill, which I believe will not only provide a justification for this laudable legislative initiative, but will also motivate the National Assembly to accelerate the legislative process in passing this bill into law. Honorable colleagues, I'm not going to continue with the long history of the bill. The paper is here. On this bill, it's important given its laudable objective in establishing the Federal College of Education in Jama'are Federal Constituency. This development will not only address the imbalance that is established and distribution of tertiary institutions in Bauchi State, but will go a long way in facilitating educational development in my federal constituency, the state and the neighboring states and the country in general. I humbly solicit for your support to pass this bill into law. Thank you very much.
This is a very straightforward bill, and it should follow in the footsteps of others. And I don't think there's any member here who wants to speak against the development of education. So I'll put the question, except there's any member here who wants to speak against the development of education in Nigeria. The question is that those in the bill be read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Clerk is invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act to establish Federal College of Education Jama'are, Bauchi State, to provide full-time courses, teaching, instruction, and training in technology, applied science, arts, social sciences, humanities, and management, and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill referred to Committee on Tertiary Education Services. Sixth order of the day, honorable colleagues, the motion on the deplorable condition of the first Niger Bridge and call for preventive maintenance of the bridge, standing in the name of Honorable Obinna Chidoka. Honorable Chidoka is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Obinna Chidoka, representing Idemili North, Idemili South Federal Constituency of Anambra State. Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I rise this morning to move a motion on the deplorable condition of the first Niger Bridge and call for preventive maintenance of the bridge. The House notes that the first bridge across River Niger linking Asaba in Delta State and Onitsha in Anambra State was built over 50 years ago during the administration of Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. Also notes that the bridge was badly damaged during the Nigerian Civil War and subsequently repaired and has been of immense benefits to Nigerians and foreign nationals alike who fly the southeastern and south-south routes. Aware that the bridge is the only link between the southeast, south-south, southwest, and some northern states, as the second Niger Bridge is still at its early stage of construction. Also aware that the first Niger Bridge is currently in an advanced state of disrepair, which is raising the threat of its collapse and will lead to traffic build-up and excruciating pains to commuters who sometimes experience traffic delays of up to 8 hours or more hours in a bid to cross the bridge. Further aware that the poor state of the bridge has been of great concern to well-meaning Nigerians, resulting in the conception of the second Niger Bridge project as an alternative route to contain the heavy traffic across the Niger Bridge from all parts of the country. We therefore resolve to 1. Mandate the Committee on Works to pay a working visit to the first Niger Bridge to assess its condition. 2. To urge the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing to undertake urgent technical assessment as well as immediate reinforcement, repairs and rehabilitation of the first Niger Bridge to avoid its collapse. Call on the Federal Ministry to develop and implement routine preventive maintenance program for the first Niger Bridge and all bridges on federal roads across the country. And finally, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, to also call on the ministry to expedite work on the second Niger Bridge project. The second Niger Bridge project, honorable Speaker, to relieve the pains and sufferings of Nigerians flying the first Niger Bridge. I so move, honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues.
Second, honorable Obaga.
Honorable Speaker, honorable colleagues, I stand to second the motion moved by Honorable Chido. I so second.
It's an infrastructure-related motion, so I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. 7th order of the day is a motion on the urgent need to restore the Oron Calabar ferry services, standing in the name of Honorable Nsebasi Epeyon. Honorable Epeyon is now invited to move the motion. Chairman, rules of business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I move that item number 7 on the order paper be stepped down as Honorable Basil Epeyon is not available to vote. I so move.
Item 7 on the order paper stepped down by leave of the House. 8th order of the day, Honorable colleagues, motion on need to investigate the activities of the Bank of Industry on the controversial sales of its shares and equity holdings without due process, sales of properties previously declared missing, violation of hiring procedure, the appointment of executive directors and its financial activities from 2010 to 2015, standing in the name of Honorable E.J. Aboima. Honorable Aboima is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, my dear colleagues. I remain Honorable E.J. Akwanyima, representing the good people of Ego Bobaka Federal Constituency, Edo State. The motion before this honorable chamber today need to investigate the activities of the Bank of Industry on the controversial sales of its shares and equity holdings without due process, sales of properties previously declared missing, violation of hiring procedures in the appointment of executive directors and its financial activities from 2010 to 2015. This has known that the allegation that the Bank of Industry, which is one of Nigeria's major development financial institutions with government and private ownership, controversially sold some of its assets and shares in WAPO Nigeria PLC, as well as its equity holdings in Dangote Properties to public without following due process. Let us also note that the management of the bank under Mr. Rashid Olaoluwa unilaterally awarded the sale of the share of BGL Security Limited, despite the fact that the Bank of Industry Investment and Trust Company, DOHTC, a subsidiary of the bank, who have effectively handled the transaction. Then is as further note that awarding the sale contract to BGL Security Limited may have been done with the intention of favoring cronies of the managing director to snap up the shares in WAPCO that were valued at 40 billion naira, and also to ensure that details of the transaction were kept secret. These are observed that the bank's subsidiary company, BOHTC, lost about 400 billion in revenue by being denied the deal, and two staff of the bank, Mr. Rakia Ubairu and Mr. Sonny Ekadayo, were sacked for revealing the deal and other unethical transactions and practices going on in the bank. Then it has been found that some properties of the bank that were declared missing were also disposed of impropriety, and the license of BGL Security Limited has been withdrawn by the regulatory authority, and its top officials bar from practice over violation of rules governing capital market operations. Then it has also been found by inside sources that signatures of some past managing director of the bank were still active on the signature mandate in some account of the bank. Recall the audit report, which observed a deposit of 2 billion naira made on 13 May 2011 into the bank's account with the Central Bank of Nigeria, which source was unknown, and the money was not remitted to the Treasury Single Account, TSA, as was required by the federal government. This has concerned that a financial statement with several infractions was signed off by the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade, Investment, and the acting managing director of the bank. That has also concerned that the appointment of 4 executive directors were made in violation of the hiring procedure, in that why it is required for the minister to make recommendation to the president who shall approve the nomination. The bank went ahead with the appointment as there are no record of the approval of Mr. President. Then this has resolved to set up an higher committee to investigate financial improprieties at the Bank of Industry from 2010 to 2015, including the management of banks on the sale of over 40 billion naira of its shares in WAPCO Nigeria PLC without due process, its equity holdings in Dangote Properties, and also the property that has been declared missing. And procedure follow in the off-hiring of 4 executive directors without the approval of President of Nigeria. Mr. Speaker and my dear colleagues, I so move.
Seconder, Honorable Adekola.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues. I rise to second this all-important motion as ably moved by my colleagues, Honorable Adekola. I so second.
Honorable EJ, it's an investigative motion, but if you want to give further information on it, you can before I put the question. So I put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Ninth order of the day is a motion on urgent need to investigate the alleged diversion. Order, please. Ninth order of the day is a motion on urgent need to investigate the alleged diversion of funds appropriated for the power sector and apparent disregard of due process in the award of power projects, standing in the name of Honorable Abubakar Yunusa Ahmad. Honorable Yunusa is now invited to move the motion.
Right, Honorable Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I am Honorable Abubakar Ahmad Yunusa, representing Yamal Judeba, this hall. Representing Yamal Judeba Federal Constituency of Borno State. I have a motion here in this hallowed chamber. Urgent need to investigate alleged diversions of funds appropriated for the power sector and apparent disregard due process in the award of power project. The House note that the country has been grappling with challenges of power for a long time. Despite effort by successive administration to address the situation due to the centrality of power in the development and economic advancement of any nation. Also, note that the present administration has made the provision of adequate power a cardinal program in its scheme of projects that will herald the industrialization of this country. Aware that funds were appropriated by the National Assembly in the 2016 and 2017 budgets for various power projects, some of which were awarded and are at various stages of completion, while others are yet to be awarded. Further note the allegation that vividly that a lot of important projects that will have enhanced and heightened the deliverance of power to the end user, the consumer, have been bluntly not afforded any amount there. And a lot of projects that were hitherto captured and even awarded were not also paid. Again, there are so many of them that no funded in the budget, but we couldn't have cogent explanation as to why this project could not be awarded. Mr. Speaker, sir, again, we are not asking, but the due process we are asking is that a lot of some other contracts were secured in the power ministry without actually due consideration of due process. So, what I wanted to add is that if this motion is moved, let my honorable colleagues have it at the back of their mind that the processes that is being done now is really not healthy and is not really deepening or trying to realize the ambition of this government. This government is desirous. They have invested over 5 billion into the power sector, yet we are not seeing results. So, it is the aim of this investigative hearing to really go thorough and see actually what is mitigated and why are they doing that. Is it because of selfish interest or what? And that is what this investigation is really up and forward to start. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Rules of business, your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker of KGF. I represent the group for my dear colleagues. I'm from Benue State. Mr. Speaker, I'm asking that we delete the only prayer. Ordinarily, I have no issues with asking the Committee on Power to investigate this matter, within their jurisdiction. But we have about 5 pending investigations that are going on that are yet to bring in their reports. So I think we should give this matter to them well explained.
Those in favor of the amendment say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Those in favor of the motion as amended say aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Then to order of the day is a motion on call for investigation of Nigeria Customs Service surveillance operatives deployed at the borders across the Federation, standing in the name of Honorable Wole Dia. Honorable Dia is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Dia Wole. I represent Shomolu Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Lagos State. Mr. Speaker, the motion today is called on investigator of Nigeria Customs Service surveillance operatives deployed at the border across the Federation. The House knows that the Nigeria Customs Service was established as a revenue collection agency with the responsibility to manage the nation borders and contain smuggling activities that reduce the revenues available to the covers of the federal government. Also note that the Customs Service derives its budgetary allocation annually from the federal government in order to enable it train its personnel and procure needed equipment for optimal performance of the statutory responsibilities. Aware of recurring allegations that officials of the service routinely engage in corrupt activities aimed at self-enrichment to the detriment of enhancing the revenue base of the nation. Also aware of the allegations that some corrupt officials of the service aid and abet smuggling, especially those dealing on rice, who made their ways into the country only for the same custom officials to start chasing traders who bought those bags of rice for sale, at times raiding markets or mounting roadblocks for the exercise, rather than preventing the smuggling of the products into the country in the first place. Concerned by incident of random shooting of ordinary Nigerians by surveillance operatives of the Customs Service at various land borders in the guise of containing smuggling activities. Also, indiscriminate shooting at various cities across the nation. Because specific shooting incident of 17th January 2018, when 6 custom officials in a patrol van shot a person dead at Abulegba in Lagos while pursuing rice smugglers, and that of 18th January 2018, where operatives shot a pregnant woman also at Lagos. Cognizant of the need for the federal government to revamp the customs service for a more efficient and effective operations and to conform to international best practices. Resolve, Mr. Speaker, all the federal government to put in place measures to ensure regular monitoring of surveillance operatives of the Nigeria Customs Service to avert unwarranted shooting of innocent citizens. Second, mandate the Committee on Custom and Excise to interface with the management of Nigeria Customs Service with a view to ascertaining whether its financial operations are in line with financial regulations, and also investigate the unwarranted killings and shooting of people which are causing fear among populace, and report back immediately for further legislative action. Mr. Speaker, I so move.
There is second. Honorable Adebumi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. Adebumi Shegun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise this afternoon to support this important motion. I so second.
Well, this motion is also investigative, except you have light to shed on the motion. I'll throw the question. I'll put the question, sorry, not throw the question. Honorable Dia, do you want to say anything on the motion?
To add one thing, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, my honorable colleague, what I just want to add, after, if the suggested investigation of incidents highlighted in this report is carried out, Mr. Speaker, and any custom officer found of misconduct, I will suggest that the government must go further to pay compensation to the family of those who were killed by these stranger hungry custom officers.
Okay, that would be the recommendation of the committee. So I'll put the question. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. 11th order of the day, honorable colleagues, is a motion on urgent need to revisit the establishment of Ikiti Airport, standing in the name of Honorable Sheung Alexander Adekola. Honorable Adekola is now invited to move the motion.
Thank you, my honorable speaker, sir, and my distinguished honorable colleagues. My name is Honorable Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and my distinguished colleagues. My name is Honorable Shegun Alexander Adekola, member representing Ekiti South Federal Constituency 1 of Ekiti State. Mr. Speaker, sir, and my honorable colleagues, Ekiti State, the land of honor, fountain of knowledge, home of so many emeritus professors. Now, is in that need of a airport to boost its economy, social and tourism potentials. Honorable colleagues, that airports are important and integral part of economic infrastructure, which contributes significantly to the economic growth, potential and development of any state or nation, and provides the necessary connectivity and accessibility required in the movement of people and goods, thereby promoting industrialization, employment generation, wealth creation, revenue generation, provision of services, and promotion of tourism. The House are aware that sometime in 2007, in 2007, the federal government gave technical approval for the establishment of airports in Bayelsa, Delta, Gombe, and Ekiti State, which was restated by former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan while on state visit in 2011. Also aware that while other states whose airport projects were approved alongside that of Ekiti had either made their operational or got them to various stages of completion through collaborative efforts with the federal government, that of Ekiti State has been stalled by political consideration. The House cognizant of the fact that Ekiti State is home to Afe Babalola University, Abuad, a world-class university that can boast of having students from all over the states of the Federation, and also the Kogosi Warm Spring, Erita Waterfall, Oroke, the World Walk Center, the Lupeju Ekiti, Erin Ayoni Baptist River, Erin Jini Ekiti, and Fajuli Park. Also cognizant of the fact that the proposed airport will bring Ekiti State into limelight, its emerging economy, and attract investors as well as tourists who have flair for comfort into the state. Given that it does not have any railway line or any other alternative means of transportation save through the road, with all the routes leading to Ekiti in various states of disrepair. The House further cognizant that there is an urgent need for the establishment of an airport in Ekiti State in order to open it to the outside world and serve as a catalyst for the development of the state. We have therefore resolved to mandate the Committee on Aviation to liaise with the Federal Ministry of Transportation to revisit the airport project that was planned for Ekiti State and ensure its early completion to boost the economic, social, and tourism potential of the state. I so moved, Mr. Speaker and honorable colleagues.
Seconder, Honorable Kaide.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Kayo. I represent the Power Form, the Badum North Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from the state. I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Nicola. I so second.
This motion relates to provision of infrastructure and in line with provisions of our relevant rules. I'll put the question. And those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. We move to consideration of reports by maybe Honorable Alexander Adekwala. You may have to liaise with the Deputy Minority Whip to know how we can build their own airport. Yes. The 14th order of the day, 13th. The 12th order of the day is consideration of bill for an act to establish the Institute of Chartered Biochemists and Molecular Biologists charged with responsibilities to, among other things, determine the standard of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become registered biochemists and molecular biologists, register such persons, regulate and control their practice and review those standards from time to time as circumstances may permit and for related matters. The honorable members who recall the bill was committed to the Committee of the Whole on Thursday, 2nd November 2017. The Leader of the House will move for its consideration. Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Okay, Jeff, I represent the group of from Wednesday. Mr. Speaker, the leader just stepped out. So what I'm going to do to move it on his behalf, if it does come, because he said he's coming back. I rise to move to the consideration of a report on a bill to establish the Institute of Chartered Biochemists and Molecular Biologists charged with the responsibilities to, among other things, determine the standard of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become registered biochemists and molecular biologists, register such persons, regulate and control their practice, and review those standards from time to time as circumstances may permit, and for related matters. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, assuming.
Honorable Abiodun, you have invited me to recognize you to second, but you have to move to your seat first.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues. My name is Abiodun Olashukwu. I'm from Oyo State. I represent Iseyin, Tesuwa, Kibajo, and Owajo constituency. I rise to second the motion as a moved by Chairman Business and Work.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. 13th order of the day, honorable colleagues, consideration report of the Committee on Commerce on the bill for an act to establish a Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for related matters. Honorable members who recall the report was laid on Thursday, 1st February 2018. Honorable Sylvester Obaga will move for its consideration.
Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, I remain Honorable Sylvester Obaga, representing Abakaliki Isifra constituency from Ebonyi State. I move that the House do consider the report of the Committee on Commerce on a bill for an act to establish the Chartered List of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and for other related matters and approve the recommendation therein. As so, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Honorable Fijabi. That's if you're seated on your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My colleagues, my name is Sahid Akiani Fijabi. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Obaga. I so second.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. 14th order of the day, honorable colleagues, consideration of report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values, the bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation Act, Chapter 1.
The House do consider the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on the bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation Act, Cap 109, Law of the Federation of the Nigeria 2004, and enact the Nigeria Film Commission Bill 2018 to regulate and develop the film industry in Nigeria and for related matter, and approve the recommendation therein. I so move, Mr. Speaker.
Seconder, Honorable Frederick.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker, Honorable colleagues. I Medi Yejimne Frederick is my name. I represent Sabama Grimo Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, Honorable colleagues, I'm from Bayelsa State. I rise to second motion as a moved.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. Leader. We can move from there, please. Please, we can save 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Sorry, I was consulting with some backbenchers there. I want to move that this House dissolve to the Committee of Whole to consider the reports. I so move.
Seconder, Honorable Kaide. The acting minority leader.
Mr. Speaker. Yeah? I'm back home now. Yeah, I'm back home now. Yes, Mr. Speaker, my name is Kayo Deoladele. I'm from Egbado North. You are not a member of constituency. I'm from the state and I rise to second the motion. Thank you.
Those in favor of the motion say aye. Those against it say nay. Ayes have it. House hereby resolve in the Committee of Whole in order to consider the reports.
All of you that are rushing out, the day your own bills are going to be considered, people are going to rush out too. Don't mind them. The first report to be considered is a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Chartered Biochemists and Molecular Biologists charged with the responsibility to, among other things, determine standard of knowledge and skill to be attained by persons seeking to become registered biochemists and molecular biologists, register such persons, regulate and control their practice and review those standards from time to time as circumstances may permit, and for related matters, our Bill 1142. And I invite the leader of the House to speak to the report. Leader.
To the House for concurrence. It was duly passed and sent to the committee, and basically as the long title reads, it's a regulatory bill for biochemists and molecular biologists to register them and to regulate their practice. As we did say, it will be difficult to allow this very delicate profession to be practiced without regulation. The establishment of the Chartered Biochemists and Molecular Biologists in Nigeria, the composition of the Governing Council, the election, membership of the institute, and basically it's the usual establishment. It follows the pattern of establishment of council that we need to have many clauses. It has 9 clauses, and because, like we said, it came from the Senate, it was debated both there and here. I would want to urge the chairman, as the cue that was given to us at the last meeting, Mr. Chairman, I believe you were there, I think we should just, there are 9 clauses. I think instead of going clause by clause, clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, I think you should just say from clause 1 to clause 9 and let's just carry all the clauses together. That's it's a new, we designed that template together just a couple of days ago. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Leader of the House, I was only present where it was being suggested. We never designed anything together, and we are not going to follow that route. This bill has 26 clauses. The bill has 26 clauses, and I'm not going to go through that route. Clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, clause 12, beta clause 12. Clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, clause 16, clause 17, clause 18, clause 19, clause 20, clause 21, clause 22, clause 23, clause 24, clause 20. Second schedule, explanatory memorandum, long title of the bill. The second report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Commerce on a bill for an act to establish Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria and other related matters. I now invite the Chairman of the House Committee on Commerce, Honorable Sylvester Okbaga, to speak to the report.
Mr. Chairman, other colleagues, I remain Honorable Sylvester Okbaga. This bill is an institutional bill, Mr. Chairman. The demand of the bill is to give in a regulatory framework of the operations. Public hearing was held on this bill. It has 20 clauses. First, second schedule, the explanatory memorandum. The committee worked on this bill and made some recommendation in the committee's comments, recommendation columns, and was laid on 1st of this month. And I urge my dear colleagues to accept the recommendations and pass these reports. I so submit, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The bill has 20 clauses, so we now go ahead to pass the clauses. Clause 1, clause 2, clause 3, clause 4, clause 5, clause 6, clause 7, clause 8, clause 9, clause 10, clause 11, clause 12, clause 13, clause 14, clause 15, Clause 16, Clause 17, Clause 18, Clause 19, First Schedule, Second Schedule, Explanatory Memorandum, long title of the bill. The last report to be considered is that of the House Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation Act, Chapter N109, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and reenact the Nigerian Film Commission Act 2018 to regulate and develop the film industry in Nigeria and for related matters, House Bill 584. I now invite the Chairman House Committee on Information, Orientation, Ethics and Values to speak to the report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I begin with Deputy Olusegun, member representing Surulere Rural Federal Constituency. Mr. Chairman, this bill is a straightforward bill. It's a bill seeking repeal of the Nigeria Film Corporation to enact into Nigeria Film Commission Act, so that the commission also can have, can work in conformity of what is terrible all over the world now. Many of the Western world have changed from the corporation into commission in order to be able to develop and assist the film industry. And that is why exactly what Nigeria is seeking, so that our own Nigeria Film Corporation can change to Nigeria Commission for them to be able to do the right thing for the industry. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman. The bill has 17 clauses. We now go ahead and pass the clauses. Clause 1, Clause 2, Clause 3, Clause 4, Clause 5, Clause 6, Clause 7, Clause 8, Clause 9, Clause 10, Clause 11, Clause 12, Clause 13, Clause 14, Clause 15, Clause 16, Clause 17, Schedule, Explanatory Memorandum, long title of the bill. Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I move that this House revert to plenary to report progress? I so move.
Chairman, Rules and Business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I rise to second the motion that the House will revert back to plenary. I so support.
The House hereby reverts back to plenary to report progress. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered a report on a bill for an act to establish the Institute of Chartered Biochemists and Molecular Biologists charged with the responsibility to, among other things, determine the standard of knowledge and skills to be attained by persons seeking to become registered biochemists and molecular biologists, register such persons, regulate and control their practice, and review those standards from time to time as circumstances may permit, and for related matters, and approved clauses 1 to 26, the explanatory memorandum, the schedule, and long title of the bill. The House in the Committee of the Whole considered the report of the Committee on Commerce on a bill for an act to establish the Chartered Institute of Commodity Brokers of Nigeria, CICBN, and for matters connected therewith, and approved clauses 1 to 19, the schedule, the explanatory memorandum, and long title of the bill. The House in the Committee of the Whole resumed consideration on the report of the Committee on Information, National Orientation, Ethics and Values on a bill for an act to repeal the Nigerian Film Corporation Act, Chapter N109, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and reenact the Nigerian Film Commission Bill 2018 to regulate and develop the film industry in Nigeria and for related matters, and approved clauses 1 to 17, the explanatory memorandum, the schedules and long title of the bill. Leader.
Report of the Committee of the Whole.
Chairman Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion as moved by the Leader of the House.
Those in support of the motion that the report considered in the Committee of the Whole be adopted, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Leader.
Thank you. I rise to move that this House stand adjourned to tomorrow 11 a.m. So you don't want to come to work on tomorrow. Speaker, some of us are used to working on Friday, so I rise to move that this House adjourned till Monday 11 a.m. You don't want to work on Monday again? Okay, Mr. Speaker, I rise to move that this House adjourned till Tuesday 11 a.m.
Chairman Rose.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to second the motion for adjournment as ably moved by the Leader of the House.
The House stands adjourned to Tuesday, 13th of February 2018, 11 a.m.